Welcome back, friends and family of the internet and fellow watchers on the wall. You guys, we just started 2026 and already the psychological warfare has begun. So, if you've been across social medias, you know people are threatening to do what? Not to pay their federal 2026 or 2025 taxes. It's called the 2026 tax revolt. So now we're getting to the psychological part, right? What people online are calling fraud fatigue. The idea is simple. When fraud feels constant, enormous, and unpunished, people stop believing the system can be fixed and they mentally check out. The term shows up in financial and consumer scam discussions across all social media platforms, and people are basically taking oaths to their followers and friends and family on the internet that they won't pay their taxes. This is like the straw man. In my mind, I see us in America's 250th year, and I realize that Rome is fixing to fall. And fall, it may very well do. Now, let's get into this. I want to show you guys a few things. I'm going to try to do something a little different. Somebody's like, I never can read what you're showing me online. Now, don't forget, I always add for you guys everything I'm showing you. Let me see if I can do this, if this will help. All right, let me pull this up. Guys, please do not forget to pick up your book, Growing Under the Poison Sky, Growing Under a Poison Sky. I'll link that for you because this is not a coincidence. All right. Interesting that the two things we are being sprayed with are barium and aluminum. And I do show that in my book. I prove it to you that those are the two main. When you put those together, it spells out ball. All right. Or Moloch, like in the Bible. Okay. Guys, they're spoon feeding it to us. Every bit of messaging is indicating that in 2026, they're going to let the dogs loose. The National Guard will be ready to deploy starting January 1st. Whatever Trump and his administration have planned, the window's about to open. Now, I am assuming what they're talking about is this White House video that was put out on December 30th.
Hold the line. Stay with me. Brothers, what we do in life echoes in eternity. Strengthen on. Strengthen on.
Rome is going to fall, folks.
Have my signal.
But that does not mean you and I are going to fall with it. So, yes, this actually
Hold the line.
comes
Stay with me.
from the White House. Now, I'm going to say this again because I think people don't understand that I can point out what someone is doing and then I can still genuinely like them. God can use anybody. The Bible tells Samantha that God can pour the rain out on the just and the unjust alike. And God used people in the Bible that were the least likely people around. But one thing we forget is a lot of times those people had a love for God already, even though David, he was sinful, prideful, and, basically was committing adultery and then murder so that he can continue committing adultery. He still loved God with all of his heart. God called him a man after my own heart. So that makes you question just because somebody on YouTube tells you someone is God's David, that does not mean that's actually true. David loved God. I'm not sure what's going on with Trump. However, again, I mean, my choice was him or Kamala Harris. So, I mean, I think I made the best of, you know, two bad choices. The veil has been lifted on the great Ponzi scheme that is the U.S. tax system. Congressmen make 174,000 a year. Somehow they turn that into 30, 40 million dollars. All right. American taxpayers are fraud victims. All right. Now I want to show you this because this is really interesting. Everybody's like, oh, Tim Walz, arrest Tim Walz. They are not going to arrest Tim Walz. He's not going to be taken out of his position. Literally, nothing is going to happen to the man like nothing happens to any of them. By the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene earned some respect from me. Can I get an amen? She sees the writing on the wall. Now, whether or not they listen to her, I don't know. Right? I'm just a nobody from South Louisiana, but I'm somebody to Jesus. If you think Tim Walz is going to get arrested or charged with a crime, let me remind you, Alejandro Mayorkas turned the DHS into a human and child trafficking arm of the federal government. He lost over 350,000 children, and he has never been held responsible.
Here's how it works. Border Patrol agents get a child pre-labeled with sponsored details, which is just a sanitized term for buyer. They then pass the child off to HHS, which is Health and Human Services. Signaling they've got a package ready. HHS, ever efficient, calls in an NGO, which is a non-governmental organization, not as a savior, but as a delivery man. The NGOs, under the guise of humanitarian aid, pick up the child, delivering him to an HHS intake facility. For 2 to 14 days, the child is in this initial intake process. But what's really happening, HHS is now formally recognizing the buyer as the sponsor. The vetting process begins, but let's be clear, this isn't about safeguarding the child. It's about ensuring the transaction is clean. Once the sponsor passes their quote-unquote qualified check, HHS, with clinical detachment, hands the child back to the NGO. The child, now just cargo, moves from the intake facility to a long-term care facility also ran by the same NGO. This isn't care, it's a stash house where the child is kept until the buyer's paperwork is in order. Finally, when HHS gives the green light, the NGO, with chilling precision, arranges for the child's delivery.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Now, this is why I tell everybody you have got to be careful when a nobody becomes a somebody. The number one YouTuber in the world was MrBeast. But did you guys know that his grandfather worked for the U.S. defense contractor? And I've heard that both of his parents worked for the CIA.
Kids and all this stuff with the you got to see the alignment for even with content creators and who they're aligning with. MrBeast, he just aligned with the Rockefellers. What type of move is that?
What kind of shit is going on?
So we're talking a guy named MrBeast. Beast System. Who is aligning with the Beast System? So get this, two things. MrBeast gets with Rockefeller and he is doing charity work. Now he's over there helping people in Africa, kids and all this stuff with the Rockefeller Foundation. Now two things. For one, have you guys seen his food line, Feastables?
Yeah. MrBeast?
Yes, MrBeast.
Break it down.
Okay, so there is a particular, I believe is a Sour Patch brand in Feastables. If you look on the bag, has these little swirlies. Now, what does it look like?
The PDF file symbol, right?
The PDF file symbols.
And do you guys remember when we were learning about the Nazca lines? Symbols and logos used by the PDOs to identify sexual preference. Look at this. Sweet Jesus. Do you guys see how all of this connects? For the ones of you who have stuck it out with me since I started with like gardening videos and no teeth outside with my phone to inside my house, holding up screens for you to look at, to me being able to present a well put together video. And I'm going to get better with a microphone, learning how to talk in a microphone. That's a new one. I love you. because you guys are the ones that just kept telling me, dig, dig, dig. Now, some people have said you've dug too far. I don't want to know this. You know, I believe this, and what you're showing me shakes what I built my world around. Well, I do apologize for that, but I'm not stopping.
That came from the FBI raid disclosure that they have in '07,
Interesting.
showing the triangles, swirls, looks exactly like it. That's one. Now you're helping kids in Africa. Weird, but also the fact that you're teaming up with Rockefeller.
And also, all of the Mr. Beast went to Africa and they put in, like, I don't know, you guys, hundreds of wells. Only one of those wells still works a year later.
For one.
That can never be good.
Yeah, that can never be good. Let's run down real quick who they are. They funded the school system.
Oh, the original indoctrination camp.
Exactly. A lot of people don't know that they funded the school system and they got the idea from war-torn Europe, from Stalin, to indoctrinate kids, because whenever they had a war, guess what? Now you have a bunch of indoctrinated kids ready to go to war because you've been in school for 8 hours a day telling them propaganda. The fact that this guy who plays Squid Games with people, look at all his games. He has Squid Game types of content all the time. But tell me why. Mr. Beast, his grandfather worked for Raytheon.
Oh, shit.
Who were they? Raytheon is one of the biggest contractors for the military on Earth.
Wow, these people got government ties.
So you have a military contract defense company that is the biggest in the military. You have to look at pattern recognition.
And by the way, pattern recognition is a sure sign of high superiority in brain. Like, you have good brain skills. And a lot of you are masters at pattern recognition. But people have consistently, your entire life, told you to stop. I am asking you not to stop. I'm asking you to recognize. Now, stay with me. Nick Shirley comes out of nowhere. His first video that really got picked up by the news was the one where his high school prom was canceled and he took his mother to prom with him because he's from Utah. And that kind of stuff there is cute, right? A lot of bad stuff happens with SA in Utah. Go from there. He leaves for 2 years to go to South America with the Mormons. He comes back and he changes his content and he starts investigating. And it's funny. He has never actually broke a story yet. He's always sent somewhere and then the news picks it up. Then YouTube algorithm shows you. Because if you look at who Nick Shirley has aligned himself with recently, it's Turning Point USA. 100% in bed with Turning Point USA and the white nationalist, Christian nationalist movement. The ecumenical system is rising in front of people. And they buy it because they're like, oh, but Nick's just a really sweet, humble young man doing his best. That boy's not humble. Not humble. You're not watching with open eyes. You're watching with what somebody else told you to think about him. So go back and watch his content, looking at it through the eyes that somebody told him to go there. And then when you see that, you realize how he's lying to you the entire time. It's shocking, but every content creator that's pushed on me, that's picked up by the other big, the Megyn Kellys, the Tucker Carlsons, Officer Tatum, Benny Johnson, as soon as they pick up somebody and start pushing him in the algorithm, I step back and start digging. And when you find that Nick Shirley's family owned a company in Utah that was all about brain computer interface, and they got in trouble for fraud, somewhere between $1 and $10 million of fraud, and they had to file bankruptcy. It's a lot. You start to wake up a little bit.
Who else is part of the government that's in either tech or content or people who are aligning with these people? Jeff Bezos.
Oh yeah.
His grandfather is one of the founders of DARPA.
I can't.
Once you start to put the pieces together, you're like, wait a minute.
Can't.
You aren't really who you say you are.
Yeah, you're not self-made. You ain't get it out the mud.
Seems like it.
You ain't get out the mud, buddy.
No, they didn't get out the mud. They were lifted out of the mud. It's very rare to find somebody that is self-made in 2025. And I do really mean that. It is almost impossible. All right, nothing is going to happen to Tim Walz. He's in the club, just like the rest of them, simply playing his role. There he is with his hand symbol. So he's in the club. You guys are not going to do anything to Tim Walz. In 2025, the White House told us our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated. Oh, look at this one. Did you know 80% of the Earth's wealth will be at the Eden Rock Hotel in St. Barth's tonight for a massive New Year's Eve super yacht party? So this is where all like the super rich are. Jeff Bezos to Michael Jordan. They were all here having a super yacht party. Probably deciding what they're going to do to us all next, right? All right, let me keep going. Yeah, the spiritual elite are Luciferians. I've been saying there's two occult factions warring with each other. The devil is shadow boxing on the world stage for us, and an obvious dialectic. This guy is supposed to be orthodox, by the way. There's nothing elitist about orthodoxy. Somebody said our government is no longer a constitutional republic. We're called a kleptocracy, government by those who seek chiefly status and personal gain at the expense of the governed. I like Rand Paul. The Republicans love to tear him apart because he votes for what's best for America. But it says, watch as so-called allies of the president vote for the continuing billions for refugees. I will vote no, and I've introduced legislation to end all welfare for all immigrants, including refugees. The Senate, the United States Senate in 2026 is asking for another $5 million, almost $6 million for discretionary funding for refugee and entrant assistance programs. These programs provide a variety of benefits and services to refugees, asylees, Cubans, Haitians, immigrants arriving on special immigrant visas, trafficking victims, and torture victims. These programs also provide temporary care and services for unaccompanied children. I already showed you what the unaccompanied children thing is, guys. And this, remember yesterday when I said it doesn't make any sense? This Minnesota child care nonsense doesn't make sense to me. Not the fraud. The fraud is real. But the fraud's been happening since 2014. Trump was president the first go round, and the fraud was happening then. But they didn't stop daycare money to American families then. So I'm sitting back and I'm like, this does not make sense. What is it? And some beautiful soul said, Sam, have you heard about Somaliland? Like Somaliland? What is that? So I look it up. Israel was the first country to recognize Somaliland as an independent nation. Now, this is where it gets good. Somalia split in two, basically. And when Israel recognized Somaliland as its own country, it gave them credence around the world. So now the EU, the European Union, is also recognizing Somaliland as an independent country. Why is that important? Because just at the same time, Israel, Netanyahu, finds out about fraud in daycare systems in Somalia by backtracking, listen to me, by backtracking the money the terrorists in the Somalia are using to fight the people in Somaliland. So Netanyahu, somebody in his office, backtracks the money they find to Minnesota daycares. They alert the White House. And what does the White House do with that information? They tell a 23-year-old? Okay. If that's what you want to believe.
How is the Israeli Mossad related to the recent corruption that was discovered in Minnesota? You're not going to believe it, but there actually is a substantial connection, and it runs through the Israeli Prime Minister office. I'll start from the end. Israel just established relationships with Somaliland, which is not Somalia. But the backstory to the whole Minnesota corruption story is that much of those funds, and again, I think the initial number that came out is about $9 billion. Again, this is crazy. American taxpayer money of, let's say, $15 billion that they imagine were stolen or misdiverted from public funds. About $9 billion of those were sent back to support terrorism, or what they would call the Muslim Brotherhood actions, and this is tied into Qatar. And Israel, of course, was behind the scenes, and I know people love these conspiracies, in leaking some of the information that is responsible or related to the funding of terrorism using that exact money.
Now, I want to stop it here because I want to point out a fact here. Qatar has been linked to Tucker Carlson. Qatar gave our president a very expensive jet. And on top of that, the Muslim Brotherhood is still not listed as a terrorist organization yet. Trump made Antifa a terrorist organization, but not the Muslim Brotherhood.
So the fact that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has a phone call and recognizes Somaliland is tied into Qatar being a supporter of the Muslim Brotherhood, tied into the Somali funds that were stolen in Minnesota funding terrorism in the Middle East. That is a story that came out right now. It really blows my mind how global terrorism works, but it's such an amazing thing that it was uncovered, and I'm sure there's more news to come on this topic.
Yeah, anybody shocked that it was uncovered by Mossad, given to the White House, but somehow it ended up with a 23-year-old YouTuber? Guys, I'm telling y'all. So, oh yeah, it just gets worse by the minute. Feds covered by up Ohio adoption hub who sold children to Somalia S-blank X gangs. Look at this. The feds covered it up. Who trusts the federal government? Nobody. And I'm not going to, I don't care who gets mad. I'm going to be real like I always am. Somalia does not have pretty people. They do not. They have this odd shape of head, like a triangle. It's weird. I don't know. Really weird. Look at this. Just look. I don't know. This is absolutely shocking and horrifying, if accurate. According to @RealAlexJones, a source said that Don Bongino said that many high-ranking officials in the Trump administration are looking to effectively neutralize any opposition or dissension from conservative pundits with large audiences. So in other words, if you've got more than 100,000 subscribers on any channel, social media channel, and you go against Trump's administration, I remember I said administration, right? Then they're going to neutralize. So what does that mean? They're going to put you on top of something called an enemy list. Anybody who dares to criticize the administration, they're going to attempt to destroy the lives, right? Supposedly Trump is completely oblivious to this, which is in itself absolutely insane and very hard to believe. The second Trump administration is operating like a ruthless Bolshevik mafia machine, shutting down any dissidents who were even on the same side as Trump. So let's hear what they had to say.
It scared me. It pissed me off. So they know you're the brain trust, and it's just true. From the agency you ran, the things you did, that understands foreign attacks, regime change, all the stuff that your agency did, let's say the big teeth, They understand you've got the networks. They understand you have the intel. They understand you have the plan. That's so easy if we just have the will to implement it and legally, lawfully, with the powers of the president. We're in a crisis to decapitate them legally and lawfully and lovingly, non-violently, but politically, it is the only move. And so they know you're doing that. So now you have confirmed, and I have confirmed separately. I didn't tell you. I should have called you back last night. I got a call from a big journalist as I was driving home at 6 o'clock last night, and I can't say the person's name. And in fact, they didn't want me to even go there because they'll figure out who it is. But I don't know what I'm supposed to do at this point. Bongino calls up and wants us all to know he's coming after us. I mean, for what? I mean, so my point is that what you told me is they're literally up there wargaming, coming after you and me because we're and Steve Bannon basically, because we're the ones on air that actually know what we're doing. And so it was just like I had like electricity shoot up my spine when I learned.
But I'm seeing that. I see it all the time, how they go after people. Okay, so this is interesting. U.S. Congress is silent because it has built the largest racket empire on the earth. It's non-governmental organizations. Guys, this is where all of our tax dollars go.
Pocket of politicians in Washington, D.C. And if it's either party, I don't care. They need to be exposed and they need to be out of office. I guarantee you it goes from the American taxpayer's back pocket to the back pocket of politicians in Washington, D.C. And if it's either...
It's absolutely every single politician, whether they are Congress or Senate, they all sit on boards of non-governmental organizations, or they have nonprofits, or they start a trust. Now, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm telling you, she actually got some kudo points for me. So Marjorie, thank you. Trump spent the weekend with Zelensky and Netanyahu. Pentagon fails audit again. That's the 8th audit in a row that the Pentagon, the military, has failed. Meanwhile, our Americans are planning a tax revolt because they don't know what else to do to get their flipping elected officials to stop stealing our money, giving it to foreigners, and paying for foreign wars. And this is what she reposted.
About it, complain. Got to go to work today, making my coffee. Meanwhile, Somalians are stealing $8 billion from the government. Meanwhile, the Pentagon just lost $2.5 trillion. And I have no idea where it went. Ilhan Omar's had a Congress seat after committing marriage fraud and immigration fraud, tax fraud, money laundering, sending money to terrorist organizations in Somalia. And she's living high on the hog, chilling. $40 million net worth with $174,000 salary.
You do the math. Let me explain something to you, friends and family. If your take-home salary for a calendar year is $50,000, but the government comes and takes a peek in your bank account, baby, and you've got $15 million sitting there on a $50,000 salary, they're going to start digging into you. I guarantee it. ATF, FBI, IRS, all the alphabet agencies are coming for you. Let somebody send you $1,000 and you not claim that on your IRS form. God forbid that you have a house office, but use your private cell phone as a work phone and a home phone. They won't let you use that as a tax credit. But Ilhan Omar and Pelosi, I mean, all of them, the Kennedys, every one of them, even on the Republican side, they make $174,000 a year, but they retire with a net worth of $40 million. Do the math. The math ain't mathin', baby.
Isn't that great, American citizens? And what is our president doing about it? Complaining about her ass on Twitter. Instead of raiding her house and freezing her bank accounts or deporting her, signing a executive order to get these people cooked. No, what's his useless ass doing? Bragging about how great it is to live for the middle class. No, it's not, nigga. I'm still poor. My life hasn't changed at all. What do you mean? The economy's doing amazing. America's more respected than ever. You're gaslighting us. America's more respected than ever? Oh, really? When you have a bunch of third world retards that are going to Minnesota just to steal from the government? Oh, but the country's respected. I don't respect you right now. I don't. Why has Tim Walz not been arrested already? Why? Why has he not been detained? Why have you not even made a statement about this? You're not stupid, Trump. You're not.
No, you're
not
not.
stupid, JD Vance. Why has it been crickets for the last 2 days on Twitter?
'Cause
You
y'all
ain't
in
got
the
nothing to
book
say
together.
now. Now the people are demanding action. You don't have nothing to say now. So yeah, good
Nobody's
morning,
been
America.
arrested.
Good morning. I hope you have a great Monday. Go to work. Go be a slave. Go get stolen from. Go fund terrorism. Go fund illegal aliens to go live off of your back. Have a great time today. Have an amazing Monday being a slave in your own country, actively getting replaced, and our elected officials are doing absolutely nothing about it. Isn't that great? Isn't that just amazing? I'm so happy. Stop paying taxes. Never pay taxes again. Go tax exempt on all of your forms. If you're an independent contractor, don't even bother. Don't even bother with it. What are they gonna do? They can't even find $2.5 trillion from the Pentagon. Oh, it's almost like they're all stealing it. Maybe that's what it is. Stop paying taxes. F the government. They're not going to save us, and we're not going to vote our way out of this one. We have to rebel in a big way. In a big way. Look at Mexico. Look at Nepal. That's all I'm going to say.
Gotta go to work today, making my coffee. Meanwhile, Somalians are stealing.
Yeah. Almost every Trump voter I see on X is so fed up they're planning a 2026 tax revolt. And rightly so. Americans work their butts off, barely make ends meet, and the government consistently gives their hard earned tax dollars to foreign countries, foreign wars, and foreigners on U.S. soil. We are being replaced in our own country, and there's nothing ever given to you. My husband was 46 with diagnosed with a brain aneurysm. Medicaid fought with us over $360, too much money. $360. The test that they were going to run on my husband when we were in New Orleans for an entire week, those tests cost $250,000. I own 2 acres of land, 2 vehicles, and a 14-year-old mobile home. I feel flipping rich because I don't have any debt. But if I don't pay my taxes, that's what the government's going to do to me. That's what they're going to take from me. And then when I'm 70 and 80 and too old to work, where am I going to sleep then? Who's going to open their home to me then? I am trying to be fiscally responsible, President Trump. I'm trying to hold on to an inheritance for my children because the Bible says a righteous man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And Samantha is a righteous woman. I have no credit card debt. But you know what? We don't qualify for Medicaid. We were forced to apply for disability for a 46-year-old man so that we could possibly not lose everything we own because he got a brain aneurysm, probably from the chemicals you're dumping in the sky. Can you guys see how frustrated I am? I mean, come on now. I'm at a point where my mother raised me, Samantha, there's 2 things in life you don't do. Don't lie to yourself, and don't try to steal from the IRS. Okay? I paid my taxes my whole life. But I've had enough. Nothing is ever given to us. We are taxed on our income. We are taxed on our savings. We are taxed on our inheritance. We are taxed on our death. We're taxed with sales tax at the store after you've been taxed by state and federal taxes on your income. At the end of the year, we're taxed again. We're taxed on property. If God forbid, you build a house, live in it for 10 years, pay it off, sell it for a decent profit to go build you a new house. If you don't put all that money into the new house, they tax it again. You can't get ahead. But they're all millionaires, including Marjorie Taylor Greene. Every one of them. Every one of them is a millionaire. We are almost $40 trillion in debt. Our healthcare is unaffordable. Our housing is unaffordable. There's no gold in Fort Knox. Who remembers President Trump saying at the beginning of 2025 that he was going to raid Fort Knox? They were going to go do an audit. When have you heard the words Fort Knox come out of Trump's mouth? You know why? There's no gold. Don't fool yourself. There's nothing in Fort Knox. They know it. America only has assets now. You're an asset. So they're going to tokenize our economy in 2026. Now, everybody thinks it's just Minnesota. Please understand, it's not just Minnesota. It's Ohio. It's Louisiana. In fact, when I asked ChatGPT, what are the most 10 fraudulent states? Minnesota didn't even come in the top 10. Florida did, Georgia did, Louisiana did, California did, New York did, but Minnesota didn't. So there's a psyop, a psychological warfare going on right now, and it has something to do with the simoleons. The reason that Trump posts on social media about arrest but does not make arrest is because he's running a multi-year psychological operation on U.S. citizens. Trump is a sociopath, like a Satanist, a genocide, and a traitor for the Israeli-led New World Order. I don't know if that's true, but I can tell you this. Americans don't want to pay their taxes. We're tired. We're frustrated.
I don't need a trailer, but I don't need to see this from the Trump administration. I don't need a trailer. I need to see Trump. I need to see Trump saying the right things and telling me what's going to happen this week and next week and next month.
Arrest.
Setting expectations, setting goals that are then actionably achieved and have actual impact. I want to see videos like we were seeing at a CCOT with all those terrorists and their tighty-whities bent over, being shoved around, handcuffed. Hundreds of them, thousands of them. I don't need clips from the movie Gladiator.
I don't even care about seeing pictures from CCOT because those aren't even the felons from America. Those people belonged in that country. I want to see Hillary Clinton bent over in handcuffs. But you aren't. You aren't.
Stop it. We watch the penalties. I mean, real Americans are so fed up with this type of fraud by Somalis because we feel that there's no mechanism for you and I to stop it. We watched the Pentagon fail like 8 audits in a row. $300 billion to Ukraine and no receipts for that. 178 countries in this world are being given our tax dollars while you and I are struggling to pay our mortgages and put our kids through school.
And not just Israel. If you're still, your first response is, well, we pay for everything for Israel. You really aren't awake. You're buying into the psychological warfare. Every country, 80, I think it's 78 or 80 countries, receive billions of dollars a year in aid from you. That's medicine, that's food, that's military equipment.
Then we go to the polls and we elect people because they say they will be more fiscally responsible with oversight and blah, blah, blah. And then they get to D.C. and they vote for this crazy pork anyway. And then they criticize the one guy that does what he said he was going to do in Rand Paul when he votes no on all these crazy things, even when they're Republican bills. And other Republicans call him the problem. And we all get stern, like this is all we get from these people. Sternly worded letters to this person and hearings and referrals. And these people are bleeding us dry. They're skating criminal charges for laundering the GDP of Somalia to Al-Shabaab.
Let that sink in. Nobody has been arrested. And now when there are rumors of a tax result, they say that they're going to send us $1,000 check.
Something is amiss. Americans are looking to get a gigantic tax refund next year. Treasury Secretary says. He says the households could see 1 to 2K refunds due to Trump's retroactive tax cut.
They're going to give us $1,000 to $2,000 if you have paid taxes for the past decade. By the way, that also includes non-citizens.
Boy, something is amiss. Because if they wanted to, okay, just like with they've been talking about the tariff refunds, right? They could just send you checks for $1,000 and $2,000. They want to make sure you file. The statement right here tells me that all this little underground chattering about a tax revolt has reached the top. They could just send you checks. Yeah, they could take it based off of your filing of the income tax last year. If it hasn't changed, the proud people's probably hasn't changed. Send me a check for $1,000 or $2,000. I don't want to have to file to get it. At the end of the day, your $1,000 and $2,000 is fucking pickle shit anyway, because I usually owe anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000, especially if my deductions don't come out right. Whoop-de-doo, $2,000. Watch the fuck per household, not per person. It's per household. Catching wind of whatever tax revolt that people are talking about doing. What's going on with the IRS? Let's look. Well, they're no longer getting their $80 billion in additional funding because that went out with the new big beautiful bill. And then they clawed a bunch of it back, leaving them with $37.6 billion, which is still a lot for a department that is taking all of my money, you mother. And a lot of them lost their jobs. For the most part. Their workforce has been reduced by 25%. Staff cuts and reduced funding combined have raised concerns that the IRS will struggle with customer service, processing returns, and enforcement. Now the government wants to assure you that you're going to get $1,000 and $2,000 if you file. Just make sure that you file. I don't know. I feel like something's amiss up there. I feel like some of those rumblings hit somewhere, probably, maybe.
What do you guys really think is going on? Because I do want to tell you real quick that the biggest fraud, I was looking at all this yesterday. Let me find it. The refund economy. Another area that repeatedly shows up in improper payment discussions is refundable tax credits, where eligibility is complex and verification often happens after the money goes out. Improper payments are heavily concentrated in a small number of program areas year after year. Now, from what I could understand, improper payments actually comes up to like, let me find it, the second biggest consistent fraud that happens in America. So every year Americans work, grind, and pay into a system we're told is carefully audited, carefully monitored, and carefully protected. How many dollars are being stolen from the American government every single year? How many do you guys think? Because I think that we could probably pay off. Don't forget to get your book, Growing Under a Poison Sky. We could pay it off, all of our debt, in just a couple of years if we could give the money to everyone else. Hold on. And then you've got Gavin Newsom running a criminal organization, right? Remember Fire Aid for the Pacific Palisades and Los Angeles fire victims? It never received a penny to any of the victims. That is exactly what happened in Maui. I did big videos on that. And I'm just going to tell you guys right now, this people going up to homes and businesses looking for daycares and banging on doors in minority communities, these white men, that's creepy. You need to stop. This is going to turn out bad. I'm telling y'all. If you want to know if there's fraud there, you call the government and ask them to go check. Daycares are secure areas. You should not be banging on people's doors. It's weird. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that America is really, really angry. We're really angry, guys.
Starting to feel as major corruption is being exposed, especially now with the case in Minnesota and the daycare fraud. This is not just about money being stolen anymore. It's about a growing feeling that being a good citizen, being a hardworking person, paying your taxes may not be worth it. People are starting to feel stupid. They think, well, I'm here, I'm playing by the rules, I am working hard, I'm providing for my family, I'm doing the hard work, and I'm the idiot. You see the memes online and we laugh, like, oh, me on my way to work, thinking that I should have just opened a daycare center in Minnesota and made millions. And again, it is funny, but it's also deeply sad. Because the next thing is, why am I even doing this? And that's the part that no one wants to talk about, because this kind of feeling shapes culture. I come from Brazil, as you know, and in Brazil we have this thing we call the Brazilian way, which is the idea that there's always a shortcut, there's always a loophole, a way to take advantage of a situation. And people think it comes out of nowhere. Oh, it's just the Brazilian way of living. No, this comes from years of Brazilian people being robbed and nothing being done with the thieves. So we now think that survival means cheating the system before it cheats you. Eventually, people stop believing that being honest is rewarded. When a society teaches its citizens that being honest makes you a loser, well, that's really dangerous. You don't just lose money, you lose trust, you lose dignity, you lose the culture that holds it all together. And once that's gone, it's really hard to get back.
Rome is fixing to fall. Let me tell you what I think is going to happen. People are going to do this tax revolt. Good people, Republicans, not just the Democrats, the Republicans are going to do it. It's going to cause the government to have like a miniature heart attack. DC is going to freak out. But there's something here that I'm feeling in my spirit, a warning bell that is so loud that says when people don't pay their taxes, they're going to lose businesses, homes. Like the IRS is going to sweep across this country and it's going to take the last little bit of pockets of wealth that people have guarded for centuries. They're going to take it. I don't know how. I just know they are. I don't know what the answer is. If half the country doesn't pay taxes, it's not going to make a difference. If we all don't pay our taxes, it will, but then we will all be punished together. Trump's not going to stop the taxes. He's not. He's not going to arrest anyone. Folks, if you are believing that they are having hidden trials in military courts and people are being put to DEATH and that they're doing all this hush hush, you're being fooled. I'm not calling you a fool. I'm saying someone is fooling you. None of that's happening. Trump is a prideful man. I voted for him. I've actually seen him in person at a rally, which is more than most Americans can say. He's extremely prideful. He is a narcissist, which sometimes that's the best employers. I mean, they're good at their jobs, right? I'm telling you right now, if Trump had been able to arrest Obama or Hillary Clinton or even Biden, whom he dislikes in person, it'd be all over everywhere. It'd be everywhere. He'd be bragging about it every time he was in front of the microphone. So what's really happening? All I can say is I truly am excited for 2026. I have nothing to fear. It does not matter who's in the White House. I am blessed regardless of who sits in the White House. I mean, seriously, I live a good life because I tithe. I don't spend money when I don't have money. I do without every single day to make sure I have what I need. But I am happy. I am blessed, and the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I absolutely have no fear. I hear people saying, oh my God, this is making me so scared. I'm like, no, I'm not scared. I am pumped, baby. What's going to happen next? This is legitimately the best time to ever be alive. We are living history right now. Americans have maybe finally grown a backbone. We come from revolutionaries. Can I get an amen? My forefathers fought against a government and whipped their tiny hiney. Maybe it's time we have a repeat of what happened 250 years ago, because the Rome that they built for us to live under, that crap's coming to an end. that pagan idolatry in our capital on purpose, the occult's belief that one of our presidents is legitimately going to be filled with the Apollo spirit, the Antichrist in the Bible, the Apollyon spirit. Yeah. We have two systems running like this. The Christian government we're all told our country was built on, and the real reason our country was built in America, the land of the plumed serpent. And there's a spiritual, physical, side-by-side world. Unfortunately, the darkness is enveloping. Hey, bring it, because I bring light wherever I go. It cannot take my light. It cannot hurt me. So no, I'm not afraid. I'm just really curious how this is all going to play out. And I can't wait one day to be sitting in heaven with all of you. And we can pull up the big screen in the sky and be like, replay the end of 2025, Lord. Show it to us again, how we whip their butts. So I love you guys so much. Have a blessed new year. Consecrate this year to the Lord. I did. As the clock went from 11:59 p.m. to 12 a.m., I stood in my front yard with my arms wrapped around my husband, and I cried out to my Heavenly Father for myself, for my family, for you guys, for our president, for our country. I bound and rebuked, and I glorified my Father. I've got nothing to be afraid of, and neither do you. But it might be time to fight, fight, fight. I love you guys. Thank you for your time.